Be strong and of good courage. Do not fear, nor be afraid of them, for the Lord your God, He is the one who goes with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. Unfortunately, a large portion, in my opinion, of Christians, of conservatives, people on the right, don't have any courage. They are afraid. They are afraid to speak their mind, even when they know it's fact, even when it's their conviction. They're afraid to speak up because they don't want to be labeled, a conspiracy theorist or some other label. And that is just the most awful thing in the world, to be labeled those. So people keep quiet. They shut down. They can be in a conversation and hear people talking about complete bullcrap. They won't speak up if it goes against that mainstream narrative. They just listen, they'll agree, even though they actually do disagree, because they are cowardice. They're not brave. They won't speak up with the facts. And that goes double for most of the Christian church. I was going to a local church that's not far from my house here, and this was during the COVID pandemic. And I have known that pastor for several decades, and I contacted him with facts about the virus, about what was going on, about the injections, and I talked to him about that and pleaded with him to tell his flock, to let the people in the church know what was going on. No, it wasn't going to happen. Didn't want to rock the boat. Didn't want to state the fact because he was too busy, no doubt, watching CNN, and he was convinced his own self that everything they were saying were 100% fact. And he was afraid to speak up, wouldn't speak up, because he knew that if he did, he might lose his tax-exempt status, he might lose some church members, he might lose some of those ties, he might lose some of that money going in that collection plate every Sunday. So, quieting down, no, wouldn't speak up at all, wouldn't warn his people of the dangers, so I stopped going to that church. And unfortunately, that is the way most are. They don't speak up against things they know is wrong, that's biblically wrong, that's their convictions, because they want to lose that tax-exempt status. They don't want to be labeled a conspiracy theorist or some other nasty label they want to put on people to shut everyone down. Same thing with people on the right. A lot of people on the right, if they're in a group and some of that group is on the left, liberal, for example, or they think they're on the right and they're saying things that's wrong, and through fact that what they're saying is wrong, most people in that situation won't speak up. They won't say what's actually on their mind because they don't want to rock the boat, they don't want confrontation, so just let it go and keep quiet because they are cowardice. And that's the reason that we're in the shape we're in right now. And that's where they're controlling, a lot of free speech, because people won't speak up even in public because they're afraid of looking like conspiracy theorists or someone looking down on them or thinking bad about them. So they just be quiet, don't say what they're thinking, don't state their convictions, and don't state fact. I was in a local sporting goods store about 4 months ago, and there was an ATF agent in there going through the books. He was sitting at the table and he was going through making sure they had written everything down correctly and things, and he was sitting there, he wasn't saying anything, he was going through those books. And there were several other people that were sitting around. People like to go there, and they had some chairs sitting here and there inside the store around the counter, and people go in there and sit around and talk and gossip. And there was like 4 or 5 people there that day, and the ATF agent, I walked in and I knew right off who he was and what he was, or at least what he was. So I started talking about Waco, Ruby Ridge, taxes, all kinds of things. I was talking about the pandemic and the federal government. I was giving it to it like nobody's business. And the store owner's ex-wife, they run it together still yet, she was there going, and I was like, because I was giving it to it, and you could see he was over there, he was getting angry, you could tell because he looked up, I'd be looking at him, he knew I was throwing it right at him. But I didn't cower down, I stated the facts. I seen my opportunity to state the facts to a Fed, and I had no fear whatsoever of that, because I have the right to state my opinion, and I have facts on my side. And unfortunately, a lot of the Christians, the conservatives, even with the facts on their side, they're afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to state facts. Don't be afraid of labels. You have to have courage to speak the truth. Satan is the father of lies, and if you look around, there's lies everywhere. Right now we have supposedly 75 genders. All kinds of things are accepted. People are, lifestyles are being accepted into the church, and high positions in the church that wouldn't have been allowed, a few years ago, because they're acquiescing. They are cowardice. They don't want to rock the boat. And I think a lot of that is because they really have no faith. A lot of the church is to get tithes as a social gathering. For example, going to church on Sunday, wearing your best Sunday clothes and socializing. The church wants to get the tithes, the offerings. It's a social gathering more than anything else, more than worshiping the Lord thy God. And that's why they cower in the corner, because they want to rock the boat. But don't be like that. You have to speak up, speak your mind. Don't let them shut you down. If you know something is fact, and if it goes against the mainstream narrative, speak up. Let people know. Grow up higher. Don't be a coward. If you're a pastor of a church, let your flock know of things that are dangerous. Let your flock know of threats. It's great to preach about, the crucifixion, the resurrection, Noah, Moses, and on and on and on. That's great. It's biblical. Preach about that. Also, you have to talk about things happening now. Threats that goes on in your outside the church that will affect people in the church. If you're a pastor and you shut yourself down because you're afraid of losing your tax-exempt status and not speak up to warn your flock, you had no business being a pastor. That is your job, to warn your flock, to let them know of threats, of dangers, and explain to them what's going on. You want to protect them. And you should know that God is on your side when you're speaking the truth. Don't cower down, be strong, and have good courage. Thought the video was helpful. Give it a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Creekmore out here. I'll see you guys next video, hopefully.